Hey, good morning, Ellen Garcia, pressure-free.com. It's a beautiful Saturday morning in Michigan, wherever you are. I hope you're going to have a great day, a pressure-free day. So what does that mean? It goes right into the theme of this episode. Every few years, it seems like there's some hot language around let's just put it around neuroscience or psychology. And one of the recent terms is regulating the nervous system. I see it in a lot of articles online, in magazines. It's just kind of a hot topic right now. What does that really mean, though, regulating the nervous system? I've given it a lot of thought, because I think sometimes people read it and they read the article, and there's a lot of frustration about, like, how do I even really do that? How do I regulate my nervous system? So there's a really big system of nerves referred to as the vagus nerve, but it's a huge system of nerves. And I think that's the first place to start to kind of understand this. So the vagus nerve is sending all sorts of sensory information to our brain for us to make decisions about things. And so when and in fact, one of the places where it comes really close is right on the ends of our earlobes here, like all the way around our outer ear. Um, that's where the like nerve endings come really, really close to the skin. Another place is the inside of your wrist. So a couple of ways that you can, I'm going to use the word tone, uh, not regulate, but basically send a signal. What you're doing is you're sending a signal through the vagus nerve when you do these things, um, that help settle our nervous system. So I like to think of it as how can we get off of the big roller coaster of emotions and get more into, smaller smaller waves, not so dramatic, um, and and actually lift the whole thing up and optimize it. That's what I do here at Pressure Free Living. We take off the highs and lows and we optimize. That's a word I use rather than positive or negative. I ask the question, how can we optimize? Because you might not be feeling particularly happy if you're working on something that's sad. For example, a sad piece of music. As a violinist, I was working on a sad piece of music and I thought, I am so in the zone right now. I'm not exactly happy because this is a sad piece and I'm evoking that, but I feel so amazing. Like in that situation, I thought, oh, that's what we're after. How do we optimize how we feel? To me, that's what regulating the nervous system is trying to get to. Optimizing how we go through our days, optimizing how we feel, optimizing the fact that we're no longer overreacting to things, but actually able to choose our response moment to moment. I remember one of my student clients said to me, Mrs. Ingalls, you're just teaching people how to be grown up. I thought that was so good. It was like, yeah, it's we haven't really been taught how to optimize our emotional landscape to be mature people. I feel like I go back a couple generations and I just watched how my grandparents interacted. They seemed so much more mature than what I see to adults doing today. They just seemed it. And maybe I was just with adults who were particularly mature, but but definitely had much more control over their emotional state. Control isn't even the right word though, because that kind of feels like a force. And what I want to do is empower you. I want to empower you to feel optimized. So let's get back to the vagus nerve for a moment. There's a few tips that I can give you that when you start to feel one of those A emotions, so angry or annoyed, anxious or afraid, ashamed, or you're starting to want to argue, those are your moments to not go into fight or flight. So here are some very simple things you can do. These are also great things to do if you start to feel a panic attack coming on. So the inside of our wrist here, you may have heard of C-bands. I should find my C-bands. I'm not sure where they are right now. I think they're in my drawer in my bureau. Um, 3 inches below your where your hand and wrist meet, right here is a spot that when you press it, it affects the vagus nerve. And so right in that spot, a C-band is something you can use if you go on a cruise or you fly. I was just talking to someone yesterday who said that you can use it when you're pregnant and feeling nauseous. I never thought of that. Anytime you feel like you might become nauseous. So you can wear the C-band and it presses right here. I went on a cruise back in 2013. It was in the Caribbean, and I bought a set of C-bands just in case. I thought, just in case. I grew up on boats, but I'd never been on a huge ship before. And so I put them on the first night, and that night, this ship hit the biggest waves the captain had ever experienced. They were 40-foot waves. The whole vessel was rocking. People were so ill. No one, hardly anyone got any sleep. Like it was a tremendous night. I slept fine. I was a little concerned this might be my last night on Earth because I was like on the fourth deck of sleeping rooms, and I watched these waves. Like I thought I've never been on a cruise. I thought maybe that's just normal, but it was not normal at all. So woke up the next morning and people were saying, I'm never going on a cruise again. But those little C-bands actually worked. I felt no nauseousness at all. You can also put a little an ice cube or cold water or like if you're sitting at a table and starting to feel a little nervous, you can put your wrist against the glass and that will calm, that will tone the vagus nerve there. Another thing you can do, I call this one neck tilt. So I learned it from a psychologist where um, this is how I explain it. Just pretend you're sitting on a bench or a bleacher and you've got two people on either side of you. So turn to one of your friends, tip your head in, smile a little bit. Then come back, do the same thing. Tip your head in, no, turn, tip your head in, smile a little bit. So the vagus nerve gets toned. It goes right up along in here and up into your ears. So it gets toned there. Third little tip for you are your ears. So the very nerve endings of this system of nerves comes very close to the skin here on our outer ears. So um, if you see the little like part that comes out right here, this like almost triangle that comes out. So that's the first step. If you grab that for a moment and then just pinch it and then turn your hand in and then go all the way around your earlobe, touching it, and then grab your earlobe and then put your index finger inside and press there. You've touched all these spots along here that where that will tone that vagus nerve for you. The other thing this is doing is it's getting you out of your head for a moment and into your body because you're paying attention to like working this part of your ear. You're paying attention to putting something against your wrist. You're paying attention to doing something with your head. So you're shifting your attention out of all the worries and whatever it is that's causing you to trigger fight or flight so that you can actually interrupt it. That is the secret to regulating a nervous system is not releasing stress hormones. Like that's the number one thing. Yeah, in many of these articles that I read, they don't even talk about the stress response. They don't talk about stress hormones. They might talk about cortisol. That's another fad right now. Everybody talking about cortisol, but they're not talking about the first flood, the catecholamines. We have to stop the first flood of hormones, and then the second flood doesn't go out. So, and I think there's a little conspiracy there because if we're in an adrenalized state, we don't function very well here, so we're not making great decisions. Our willpower's down. We'll buy things. We'll buy things on the phone. We'll buy things on an infomercial. Like we don't, we'll order DoorDash just because some ad comes up during our sports game we're watching. So we're weak. We're weak as far as decision making, processing, future pacing, deciding what's really right for us. Um, deferring gratification. It's very hard to do that when you're in a stress response state. And so truly the real way to mitigate having this crazy roller coaster is to take a look at what's causing you to trigger the stress response. It could be so many different little things. And that's what we dig into in my course. It's like we have to, like you get a bunch of gum in your hair and like we've got to piece by piece, take out the gum. I think I was at a fair once and somehow cotton candy, like someone must have gotten too close to me or something. Anyway, cotton candy got in my hair. I had really long hair to my waist. My mother just worked and worked with water and like pulling the hair apart. So that's what we have to do. We've got to untangle the mess. This mess is something we've created since we were born, but we also have habits of reaction from anyone we emulated. So anyone who was your caregiver, a guardian, a daycare worker, your parents, whomever took care of you when you were really little, you imitated so much. That's how we learn. We learn through imitation. You were even triggering the stress response when you were still inside your mom. So that's huge to know. Um, that that we come out already knowing how to release a lot of adrenaline to protect ourselves. So that makes sense if we're in a tribal situation or out in the jungle or a desert, like someplace where there really are a lot of wild animals and we need to fight or run away. But the 21st century, for most of us, we're triggering the stress response over things on this little box, over over things people say, over worries that don't even manifest. We're all pretty great fiction writers here. If you start one worry, it's easy to pile on and on and on, and suddenly you're just imagining just such a mess, right? For the most part, most of us are pretty safe. We're pretty, if you have a phone and you're on this call, you've got some resources. You could sell your phone if you needed to get food. Like we have resources. But when we're in fight or flight, it can feel like we don't have safety. We don't have resources. Some people will isolate so much that they're afraid to even talk to other people. And so understanding how to get more empowered by, we'll use the term regulating the nervous system, which to me means not releasing stress hormones. So if we can interrupt that stress response, that's the key. Then this vessel of us gets to flourish. Every single cell of us celebrates when we don't trigger that stress response because every cell is going to have to go through so much for hours dealing with these two different floods of hormones. So when we don't do that, it's really a game changer. And then these highs and lows of feelings, they level off and we get to optimize. We get to up level it. So that super excites me if you can't tell. Like it super excites me to help someone understand this and what it actually does for our bodily processes, for every one of our processes, our metabolic system, our digestion in general, our our eyesight, like every single thing that we do is affected by stress hormones. So if we can stop that, it's incredible what starts to happen, how you start to feel and how all of this starts to work for you. So, you can just reach out to me. You can go book a call right on my website. There's a little button that says book a call. Click that, goes right to my calendar, and we can have a conversation. And I would love to talk to you about this, about what's going on in your life, just learn more to see if pressure free is a good fit for you. So, wish you a great pressure free day. Bye.